Welcome back to Philosophy of the Barber. Today's guest, we have Jen Ford, co-owner of Hello Hair Co. and licensed cosmetologist for 22 years. Welcome, Jen. I apologize for my sniffliness. I am suffering from a cold. Deal with it. It is what it is. It is not COVID, I promise. And it's okay. We're still socially distanced. Welcome, Jen.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
Great. I mean, I'm out of the house, so it's wonderful.
The glory of being a parent, having a babysitter.
Yeah.
So, first things first, tell me how 22 years ago you decided that hair was a good idea.
Yeah. Wow. Geez, it's so long ago. So I was actually enrolled in UNH, University of New Hampshire in Durham, and it was the summer or leading into the fall where you would go back. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was struggling with going back to college. And I literally came home one night and I had gotten a form from UNH about if you wanted to defer a year, how would you do that? And I had thrown it away. And when I got home that night, I was like, I need to defer. I don't want to go back to UNH. I want to go to hair school. Like, that's it. And I, at this point, was paying for college on my own. So I grabbed that out of the trash that night, sent it in, found someone to sublease my apartment, made an appointment at Continental that week, figured out how to get financial aid to go, enrolled, got accepted, was ready to go, and then told my parents I was not going back to UNH, and my dad almost lost his mind. But I knew if I told them ahead of time, the support of being a hairdresser was not going to be ideal to them, and UNH was, right? So that was it. I wasn't telling them for their permission. I wasn't looking for their approval. I was just like, this is what I'm doing, and wish me luck if you can. And actually, fast forward 5 years, I found my first job with Delaria Salons, which I don't even know if they're still around. And I was buying my first condo, and my dad finally said, I'm so proud of you. You picked such a great profession. So there I was. My profession now meant something to my dad, which was very cool, but it was only because it had gotten me to that point.
It only took 5 years.
It only took 5 years. But I'd always loved doing hair. Since I was a little kid, that was just really fun for me. So it sort of was a natural progression. It just took me a while to get there and like, I'm doing this.
So did your high school or anything have cosmetology programs
No.
that kind of like tickled your fancy or anything
No,
like that?
nothing. I would do hair on the side for like dances, like French braid little girls' hair and that kind of stuff. And my hairstylist, who was a guy, when I was younger, I would love bringing my friends in to get their hair done with him and just watch him work all the time. And that was like so fun for me. But basically it was just like side work for me growing up, like the braiding and that kind of stuff for like little kids' dances.
Nice. All right. So you said you went to Continental. How was that experience going through that particular hair school?
I loved it. I was on the older end. I was in my 20s. I think there was 2 of us in our 20s. Most people were 18 right out of high school. But the experience was amazing. I felt like I learned a lot. I had fun. And I felt like gave me a good foundation to get started in my career. And which is why I actually searched out Delaria after, because they took you on and they put you through their training program. And I knew I needed more coming out of school to really get my feet under me.
Well, and doesn't cosmetology school usually kind of tell you that off the bat, where it's like, we're going to teach you how to pass a test, but you're going to learn way more from wherever you end up landing?
For sure, right? They're just going to give you a skill set and for you to do what you can.
Well, I feel like that's one of the major differences between mine and your husband Todd's barbering experience in school versus the standard of cosmetology, where we're taught what we need to enter the workforce.
Yes,
like
you guys are
immediately.
hands-on.
Yes, very.
That's why Todd and I picked New England School of Barbering for him, because I went in one day and I'm like, this is where you need to be. Like, you're going to be amazing coming out of this. Where, yeah, for me, coming out of hair school, I was just really good at mimicking how to put on color and all that. I couldn't formulate. I could kind of cut hair a little bit to get by. I couldn't blow dry. Like, I knew I had to find a place to teach me those skills. But you guys, can literally, I feel like, kick ass day one coming out of there.
I don't think that's uncommon for cosmetology as a profession. Like, I feel like that's grown to be the standard of, like, what schools are like, all right, this is what we got to do for you guys. And then there's way more for you guys to do after
Agreed.
that. And I feel like there's also that an understanding from a salon owner standpoint going, all right, it's my responsibility if I'm going to bring in a new stylist, then we need to educate the crap out of them.
Absolutely.
So salon owners have taken on that responsibility going, all right, that's our job, is to educate them more to where we want them to be. Where barbershops, that's not really the case. Like, if you want to grow cool, we'll teach you what we know and what we can. But the practice of bringing education to the shop or to the salon is not really the standard for our side of the house. Mm-hmm. Now, as a current salon owner, let's backtrack a little bit. How many salons have you owned?
This is my second salon owning. I rented in 3 different places prior to owning my last salon, and then I think I worked at 5 different salons prior to renting. I was a mover and a shaker, and I only lasted, we talked about this a little bit, 4 to 5 years in the first salon, and after that, everything was less than that.
Okay, so, I mean, we touched on that a tiny bit before we started recording, but kind of walk me through, like, how you went from school to your first gig, and then, like, the pros and cons of your first area, what you learned, what you struggled with.
Sure. So I, coming out of Continental, had 2 salons in mind that I wanted to be at, one or the other, and both offered education. One offered a program that was not very clear on how long you'd be in the program. So basically, you would work as an assistant under somebody, and when they felt you were ready, you would progress onto the floor. The other salon, being Delaria, had a very strict program as you're going to cut hair for 6 weeks doing this. Then if you can test out, you can now cut hair in the salon while assisting other stylists. Then you're going to do your color, and then you're going to test out, and then you could do it. And for my personality, knowing that there was black and white rules worked very well. So that was my salon that I picked because I loved that they laid it out, boom, done, and you're doing it as long as you can test out of it.
Clear expectations, clear goals, timelines.
All along. So I was like, this is great. And so that got me at Delaria, which was in the mall, which I loved because we got all different types of people. So, I mean, I didn't love working Sundays, but at the same point, I got everyone that screwed up their hair on Saturday night coming in to fix it on Sunday, and I didn't know what I was doing, but they were like, just help me. So I learned a ton in that atmosphere, and that was so fun for me. But then being in a mall, for me, was only going to take me so far. I really wanted to be, in my next job, a salon that I felt was just more upscale. And I was ready to do that. So that was about that 4 or 5 year mark. I had bought my condo, and somehow buying my condo was like, I'm going to leave this job and get a different one. And everyone around was like, you're an idiot. You just bought a condo, and I just got a raise. Like, my commission just went up, so it was like, why wouldn't you stay here? You've got it. And I was like, I'm bored. Like, I just felt like I had done what I could. And I don't know, that reinvigorates my soul to just do things that are crazy. So that was it. I found a salon in actually Windham, New Hampshire, and jumped ship. And but also, remember, this was so long ago, there was no social media. There was like, so when you're leaving a salon, in order to tell your clients you're leaving a salon, I was leaving in the new year. So I remember writing Christmas cards to all my clients and saying, open this in your car. And basically, I don't even know if I had a cell phone. It was like, it said, like, this is my new salon, call there. Like, because otherwise I would have had no clients. And I'm like, okay, I need to take them with me, but how do I do this? Like, you had to get creative. They couldn't just find me. So that was actually kind of funny. But then I went on to Wyndham, and then from there, I lasted a couple years, but it wasn't managed very well. There was a lot of conflict within the salon. So then I left and went to a different salon in Wyndham. And then that one I lasted, I think, 8 months. I was like, 2 weeks in, I'm like, oh, what did I do? And then from there, I went on to rent a chair at this little place in Hudson. I had a non-compete from that salon, so I had to be 10 miles away. So I found like a really far place. But everybody followed me, so it was great. Then I wanted to come back towards where I lived. So from there, I went to another rental salon in Londonderry. And that didn't go so well. Seeing a trend here. Maybe it's me. But then I ended up at another salon in Londonderry where it was like a quick turnaround. So basically, at that point, was looking to open a salon, and I was being honest with the owner of where I was renting, and she didn't like it. So the next day I came in and my stuff was packed, and she's like, you have to go. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just bought a house too. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I phoned a friend that I knew and I was like, I need a place to work. So this was like 8 a.m. on like a Thursday morning. And by noon, when I started my shift, I was at that other salon. I already called all my clients, and I was working in some weird room with carpet. Now, cutting hair on carpet is not cool.
But red flag.
Yeah. But I'm like, I need a place right now to wrap my head around. And what came out of that was amazing, because this salon we were in wanted to move and was like, would you want to stay here? Because we can sublease our lease. So if you want to take over this space, you could have it. And I had a friend that was interested in opening a salon, and that formed my first partnership in my first salon. And within a few months, I was owning my first salon.
All right, so let's back up a little bit and talk about your little hop, skippity, jump
Yes.
situation. Like, what were some of the deal-breaking reasons why, like, ultimately you had to sever ties with various areas?
For most that I can recall would be not having the supplies that we needed, like not having enough color, and basically like just make it out of anything. Now, of course, I can mix a 10 and a 2 to make a 5. That works, but it's not the same thing. And when I had picked that salon that I wanted to be more upscale, I'm like, you're asking my guests to pay a lot of money, and you're asking me to I can make this happen, but you could just keep enough stock and I could make it happen even better. I would be getting foils from like CVS because we'd run out, and I'm like, this just isn't, the back of this just wasn't mirroring what they were trying to put on the front.
So they weren't, like, the ownership wasn't holding up their end of the deal.
For sure. Yeah. And that first salon, the two owners didn't jive well together. And they were splitting up, but I didn't know they were splitting up till I gave my notice. And then that made more sense why things weren't going as well.
It's like being a child in a divorce.
Yes, without even, like, you didn't see it. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm like, if you guys had said this, I don't even know if I'd be leaving, because I would at least understand why things weren't being managed as well.
Yeah, you'd be more tolerant.
For sure.
Yep.
And then the second, when I went from there to the next salon, they were just about partying. So I actually, my first like one-on-one, like, goal setting meeting, which I thought would be a goal setting meeting, it was a husband and wife team, and they basically just told me I need to go out more and drink more with the staff and be more friendly with the staff. And I'm like, and they would come in hungover, and I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't mind going out, don't get me wrong, but like I'm like, I came here to do a job.
Yeah.
Like, and
What would they have done had you not been somebody that drank?
and I was like, I'm getting done at 9 o'clock, and the last thing I want to do is like go to a bar and hang out. Like, I want to go home. I have to come back in the morning, and I want to be fresh and ready for my guests to take them.
Well,
right?
you also have to be around them, like, all the time already.
Yeah.
There are some times when, like, you don't want to be around the people you're with all day.
Correct. So that just pushed me out. That was the 7-month salon. I was like, I can't. This is just not for me. And then with the booth renting salons, it really was all different stuff. The first one I was in, I had mentioned wanting to have a salon at some point, and that conversation just didn't go well. And then she started changing rules and changing hours, so it was very apparent, like, it was time to go.
Well, especially since when you're in a booth rental situation, those things aren't technically allowed.
Yeah, like, all of a sudden on Friday, you can't be here past 5, and I'm not going to give you a key. And I mean, I guess if you want to take the key away, that's fine, but I had always worked like 9 to 9. So I'm like, okay, now how do I change my schedule? And like, the demands kept changing and the rules kept changing. So it was just like, okay, this is not going well.
Well, and for somebody who wouldn't necessarily be familiar, because I don't really think the industry as a whole, no matter what side of the house you're on, is very open about the legality of the ways the shops and salons can be run. And going, somebody starts being a renter, they don't always know the laws that are on their side.
I agree. Yeah. And I don't always feel also that the person that's bringing in the renters understand the laws on their side. Like, of what, like, I think there's a two-way street there, and I think it's not talked about, and a lot of things are missed, and people think they're able to do things, or they're owed certain things, that they're not on both sides.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that that's one of those, like, lack of communication, I don't know, lack of maturity situations in the industry.
Yeah.
That I think, unfortunately, gets passed on, like abusive behavior, where it's like, no, like, this is, like, part of a responsibility of anybody who wants to be a professional in any industry is educating yourself, in addition to, don't abdicate your role as an individual and your personal growth to somebody else and expect them to educate you for you.
Absolutely.
And
That
going,
is perfect how you said that. Yes.
if you want to know something, go find it. Like,
Yeah.
read the RSAs, read the restrictions that we have, read, anything that is under our regulatory board. You have to go look at that yourself.
Yes.
So that you know for sure what you can and cannot do.
Agreed.
Communication. It's part of every mature relationship.
And it's the hardest.
It is.
It is so hard.
But I think with you being so upfront with your owner, I mean, that's what I expect of anybody that works for me is, because I've heard so many horror stories about how people leave shops and like the bridges they burn, and I'm like, why would you put yourself through that? Like,
Yeah.
all you have to do is be upfront with people and be honest, going, look, I have a long-term goal. One day I want to be an owner. And you come to me with that, like, you tell me, I'm like, cool. Then whatever time you spend with me, I'm going to help you move towards that. Because
Agreed.
I have no expectation of anybody staying with me forever. That's absurd.
Very, right? It's and I think it's interesting because different, obviously on that side, I'm leaving other people, but yes, very clear on where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, and tried to keep that as open. Like every single place, it's no hard feelings. Like you run this how you want to. It's no longer working for me, so it's my time to go. Like I don't even need to sit here and say anything negative about the way you're doing it. I've just realized today it's not for me, and it's time for me to move on to my next venture, whatever that looks like. But then on the owning side, when my staff left at any time, because they do, I always tried in that meeting, even if it caught me off guard. Generally, it didn't. Generally, I knew something was happening, and it was just like, as soon as they came into that office, I'm like, oh, we're talking about this today. Okay, let's hear it out, But I always tried to be positive. Like, even if it hurt, even if financially it was gonna, I'm like, whoa, we're gonna take a hit on this business. But it was like, you know what? Good for you. Because here's the thing. That first salon that I left in Wyndham, when I went to the salon I was at for 7 months, I would have gone back to that first salon if when I quit, they were like, if it doesn't work out, we're here for you, whatever. It didn't go that way at all. It was not positive. So I felt as an owner, because of that experience, like I wanted to always be there, because not everybody who wants to leave, and some of them were leaving to go rent a chair, some were moving on to salons, but just because you think the grass is greener on the other side doesn't mean when you get there it is. So if it's not, and I really still felt like you could be an asset and we could have a great relationship, I wanted it to be open to that. Now, no one ever took me up on it, but I meant it when I said it. I meant it when I wished them well. No matter if it didn't wish my business well, I really, for them personally, wanted them to do well. Because in this industry, like, we're only as good as our greater parts. Like we all have to help to get this to be a good industry.
When I find in the limited experience I have when it comes to turnover of people, I'm trying to think. I've only had one person leave.
That's amazing.
I've let people go. I have ended leases.
And that's amazing too, because that's not easy to do either.
Yes, but I've always had this, and it's grown and matured over time. Like, I started off very strict, very like three strikes and you're out kind of a thing, where it's, you do 3 things that would normally get you fired anywhere else and you're done. If you were an employee, because I'm just like, I can't do it. Like,
Yeah. And
I don't
that
have
protects
time.
your other staff too, right?
Oh, yeah. So to know that, hey, there is a standard.
Yes, she's got my back too, right?
But personally and professionally, I have always wanted to be able to salvage rapport with people, going, look, just because we didn't work well together, just because we ended things badly, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to hate each other. Like,
Yes.
I don't have the energy for that, number one. That's way too much energy. I am a lazy person. It's an inefficient use of my energy. But also, I am not my shop. My shop is not me. They're for the people that work here currently. So, and I seclude myself in my own room anyway, and I have a day off. So they could really have a great relationship with other people they work with that they want to continue to have. And I don't want them to feel like they can't have that relationship with that person just because of me.
Correct.
Going, like, I've had people that have worked here and no longer work here who have come back and had haircuts by people they got along with that they work with.
And that's amazing.
And I'm like, sweet. I love
that's
that.
how it should be.
Yeah, you don't have to like me. That's fine. I don't expect half the world to like me. No big deal. But I want you to still be able to, have a good time in my shop if that's what you want.
Yeah. Well, and it shows that I think the industry as a whole, barber, salon, whatever, there's enough room for all of us to be successful. And I truly do feel that some people need to get pushed out. Some people, it's their time to leave. But if you can find the right fit for you in whatever part of the life you are in your, like, the right fit for you today might not be the right fit for you in 5 years. But if you can find that, then you can hopefully happily work for those few years, and then you move on when you're not happy anymore. Or you have a conversation and you're able to reconvene on what that happiness looks like.
Yep. And I think that goes for, both parties involved, whether we're talking about, professionals, owner and renter or employee or however you're having that situation. But also when it comes to barber, stylist, and customers going, you know what, you may not be happy forever here. We will, try and make you happy and give you what you want as long as it fits with, our standards and what we're going for as an establishment. But, we also don't expect our customers to stay with us forever.
Yes.
Some of them will, and we love them, and we grow with them, and we learn about their families, and we get really close. But for some, it's, they have a connection with somebody, and that connection doesn't last forever. Just like we lose friends.
Totally.
There's a time and a reason why people are part of our lives, and then they don't have to be there forever.
Right.
And I feel like there's guilt involved with that for some people.
I hear that often.
That whole, how do I break up with my stylist or my barber, or converting from one side of the house to the other?
For sure.
I'm like, dude,
You just do.
if you have a good person as your stylist or your barber, and you found somebody who can do it better for you, if that person is a good person, they're not going to be angry. They may be sad that they're not going to be able to see you because they made a connection. But they're not going to hold that against you and be angry. If they are, run.
Yeah, you
shouldn't
already be
together
gone.
with that person anyway.
So true. We just actually had a new guest in on Saturday. It's her second time coming in the salon, not with me, but she was talking about how she was like, I feel bad because I'm leaving my old stylist, whatever. And I just heard the conversation, and the staff member that had her, she made her just feel so comfortable. Like, it's fine. You can go wherever you want. Like, you can still talk to her. But I think we all have that guilt at times. Some of my best guests that have left have actually sent me cards. And it is wonderful because I'm not wondering, did they forget about me? Do they need their hair done? Should I reach out to them? They're just like, hey, thank you so much. I loved everything you did for me. It's just time for me to move on. Whether they've moved or they just decided. And I'm like, thank you. Because we had a relationship, I thought. So I love that you just broke up with me in this wonderful card. And I can handle that.
Well, and there are people that were my customers that come to mind every so often, and I go, man, I haven't seen them in a while. And I look up when the last time it is I saw them, because I have that info.
Me too.
And I go, oh, all right, it has been a while. But I go, you know what? I remember what was going on in their life last time I checked. All right, so, maybe they're doing something different. Or maybe they've moved, or, any other number of things that it's like maybe they just found somebody that, gave them a better service.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I hope they're happy with it. And, if I ever run into them in public, nothing but a smile. It's I'm so glad, I get to see you and that you're doing well. There's no point in me holding on to ill will.
For sure. No.
Especially as an owner. We have too many other things to worry about.
Way too many.
We're just like, oh, hey, long time no see. That's it. We don't have to make it awkward. It's cool.
And that makes it so much better. I think a lot of times people think it's going to be, and it's just like, great to see you. Like, oh, okay, good to see you too.
Well, and unfortunately, there are people in our industry that make things awkward.
True.
And
very true.
And we have to accept that is a reality that we're constantly having to work against.
Yes, I would agree.
Just like any profession. There are good people and bad people, and there's a spectrum. So, everybody's in a different stage of growth.
Yes.
So accept them for where they are.
Everyone's level of professionalism is different.
All right, so let's talk about Hello Hair Co. and how you guys, number one, how you guys decided. I'm constantly baffled by this. People who are married actually working together willingly. I could never do it. I give endless praise, and I'm baffled, and I want to know how on earth that happens.
Okay. So interestingly enough, when I had my first salon that I owned, Todd owned a gym. So I helped out with his gym a bit on that side, and he helped out on some of the back end of my other salon, or at least advising me, and we worked really well within that. Now, I would have never thought we were going to have a business together. So, like, that sort of baffled me also. But as the end of my first salon, like, basically, I didn't realize at the time I was done and it was time for me to move on. That came a little later. But I knew I wasn't happy. And I had known that for a while. And I was doing a lot on my own in the business as the owner. So, and actually, the person I owned it with agreed to this, so I'm going to say this part. I had felt like I was doing 80% in the work and she was doing 20. And at the time we talked about that, she actually said to me, "You're right, you have been." She actually said, "I let you do it, and I can do it, and I will do it." And then I said, "Well, you can go right ahead and do it, then I'm going to go." So anyway, fast forward, I had some events coming up, and this one big Redken event, and Todd, I had asked to come with me because I would see some former people that just would be uncomfortable. And he was like, "Sure, I'll go. It's a fun industry. Like, why not?" And at this point, we had closed the gym, and Todd was helping a little bit more on the salon side. So we go to this event, and it's amazing, and he happens to meet somebody from Baxter who is now an educator for Baxter and used to be a barber. And we spent a lot of the night talking to her, and she was like, "Todd, I think someday you would be a killer barber. Like, I just think this would be for you." And we kind of like, both of us left that night, and in the car driving home was like, he's like, "Can I do this? I want to do this." And I'm like, "I think this would be amazing for you. I don't even know how we didn't get here sooner in life, And then that started now this whole, and he was now starting to really help me on my other side of the stuff that I wasn't getting helped with from my former partner. And I'm like, wait, like you have all the skill sets that I don't have, and I have this other set of skill sets that you don't have. And together, like, we could kill this. Like, this would be really fun. And we started kind of talking about some stuff for the future of doing. And it's like, I've always wanted to do that within my salon. And I never knew how to get there because I didn't have the skills to put me there. And I felt like if you're my partner, I could see so much of a dream in the salon world that I never knew how to get to. And I was like, you can pave that way for, then if I'm being selfish, for me, just for where I want to go, not even for him. And so this started this conversation. I came home from work one night, I've had it. I'm done. I need to have this conversation. Like, this business needs to end, and I need to go out on my own. And Todd said to me, "Well, would you want to partner together?" I remember him clearly asking. And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Jen, you got to really think about this. Like, this isn't just like can we do this?" And I'm like, "Yes." How did I not see this? Like, this dark cloud's been above me. Like, clearly this could be really amazing. But also now you're my husband, we have kids, and whoa, we're going to be together a lot. Like, can we do this? So that started the beginning of Hello, and we started laying that out. And in the interim, I went and rented a chair somewhere while we built out Hello. Todd found New England School of Barbering, and we found a space and started tearing it apart and building it up. And I can't say that was a walk in the park at all, and there were a lot of struggles because both Todd and I clearly have pictures of what we want and are very stubborn in those ways. And like, one night we had an argument. Now, if you came into an argument with us, you might be like, "Whoa, they're really fighting it out." But that's just how we talk. Like, we both very heated. We get excited.
It's a marriage.
Whatever.
It's fine.
Yeah. And this argument was about coffee. Fucking coffee. Sorry for swearing. Like, this is how passionate we are. And this is where it was almost like I could have killed him. But I was so proud of us for like how we deliver. Now, we can't even have coffee now because of COVID right this minute. But how we're going to have this coffee presented in this experience we want to give the guest that basically came to this French press coffee. Like, imagine, like, we can show them how we make it and bring it over. And it's like we're bringing them over a cup of love. And like, we were going over these details that I was arguing my point, he was arguing his, and at the end of the day, someday we can have coffee. It'll be French press coffee. But it was clear that, like, we both really wanted this business to be super successful, and we were going to argue out points together, and we were going to come around and really create something special. And, I mean, some days it's really hard, but some days it's really great. So, I don't know. Here we are.
I feel like ultimately you guys both know that you're coming from a place of passion for a phenomenal experience that you want to give somebody. So
Yeah.
at least having enough of that perspective
to remember when you're in the heat of the moment that, all right, he's not doing it to be combative. He's not doing it to be contrary. He just has a point of view coming from, his experience, and he's trying to get to the same goal I am.
Yeah.
But
And
just
he was
different road.
trying really to, which I love because I asked for this, but then sometimes when you ask for something, you're like, why did I ask for this?
Be careful what you wish for.
Yes. And so it was this, we really wanted to create something different from where I'd come from. And in order to do that, I have to be challenged on everything I did before to get to this new place. But in the middle of that, that is not fun.
Oh, no.
But I was like, I want to get over this and I want to be here. But then as someone's doing that, I'm like, why are you challenging everything that I'm saying? And he's like, you asked for this. And I'm like, oh, I did. And now being months down the road, when I look back at that experience, as I feel like it was so hard, it was really amazing. And I love where I've come out from it. So, and that's having a good partner too, right? Like he knew how much he could push me. And some days when it was like, okay, let this go.
That is very important.
Yeah.
Finding balance and going, all right, I'm going to ease up a little
Yeah.
bit. This really isn't worth the fight. But I do recall a quote from someone that is, if you want to go somewhere you've never been, you have to do something you've never done.
I love that. That's exactly it, right? And that's what we wanted. And I personally think we're doing it, and believe that we'll keep moving in that direction. So,
Well, awesome. So let's see. When did Hello Hairco officially open? Because it was post lockdown,
yeah,
right?
it's supposed to be that March, but we opened. We were actually, per the state, we were allowed to open, I think it was like the 18th. And we chose to wait 2 weeks and go through with the staff, because none of us had worked in there. So we took those 2 weeks to do some models and get used to working in just the space because it was new, but then to work in that space with the new guidelines and how we were going to sanitize and do all that stuff at a great level that we felt were the expectations that we wanted at Hello.
Now, how many chairs do you have in your salon right now?
We have 6 styling chairs and 2 barber chairs.
So how many people immediately started working in your salon when you opened?
There was 4 of us,
Okay.
myself and 3 stylists.
Because part of me is like, all right, well, I mean, because your establishment not small.
No.
I go, all right, well, how does one just like open with multiple people? Did you have people who already were like really ready to come and work for you that you had like networked with prior to?
Yes, Todd had this great idea to put out just when we were starting to open, like, hey, if you're interested, let's grab a coffee. So I didn't want to personally reach out to anybody, especially coming out of a different salon. I wanted, if they thought they would want to work with myself and Todd, they needed to start that conversation. So leading up to before, as we were building out the salon, those coffee talks had come in, and some were hired and some were not. It was just the fit that we felt would fit the Hello vibe we were going for. So that's how the 3 people came on board in the beginning.
Well, I imagine you don't want to start off your business reputation with like scalping
Absolutely.
stylists from other
Yes.
places.
100%. I think that's just your level of integrity, right? And that's a big deal to both Todd and I.
Well, and part of the whole, I think, success overall with having any sort of establishment is you need to have a really good relationship with what people would consider your competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's your industry.
Yes, for sure.
So don't poop on them.
Yeah, I love that.
Because, like, as you can see here on Main Street in Laconia, we have 3 barbershops all on the same side of the road
Yeah, I did notice.
with like 5 doors between them, maybe. And we have the ability, and we have a really great relationship with all of them. Like, anytime I pop in and see one of those owners, it's all smiles and, hey, what's up? You
Which
need
I love.
anything? Like, what's going on? And that hasn't always been the case.
No.
But I love that way more than, like, oh, what's so-and-so doing down the road?
Totally
Do
agree.
we need to react
There are
because
2
of that?
salons also in Londonderry. One I go in and I've had a pedicure, I get a wax, whatever, and the other one I've had a haircut at, and it's also fun to experience what those other salons are doing, and I'll take that as to, likes and dislikes, and maybe it puts a perspective on what I'm doing, but I think it's healthy. I think we can all be successful.
Well, and like none of us are trying to be what the other one is.
No.
Like we all have our own vibes, our own directions.
Everyone's vision is their own, right? And
Yep.
and you got to stay on that path.
Yeah, and focus on what your goal is, not what somebody else is trying to do. Because
I think actually you just hit that right on the head. I think that's so important to focus on like what you're doing, because I think I hear, we're in small towns, like people are so worried about what everyone else is doing, and then I'm like, that's just taking your bandwidth. You don't have time for that. Just focus on your business, and you'll make it the best it is.
yeah, that's the whole thing. Like negative energy, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't have energy. Like
And it does no good for anybody.
no, it really doesn't. Like if anything, it just keeps you on. If you want to use a football analogy, it just keeps you on the same yard line that you've been stuck on. Like it doesn't get you to the first
And then you
down.
wonder why you're not moving.
Yeah. So if you're being reactionary, anytime reactionary in business is you're already lost.
100%. Yeah.
And that's my thing with some government decisions is it's kind of the opposite. Like going from being a business owner to like dipping my toe into government stuff is very frustrating because we're so proactive in anticipating things. Like that's our job is to anticipate and to translate and to understand what people want that they don't even know what they want.
Right.
Like you have to figure that out. That's our job. And then envision that. And then entering into government stuff, being part of local things is like, but why are you waiting until this is a problem?
Right. I always want, like, when there is a problem, like, what's the solution? Like, okay, obviously we need to discuss the problem for a few moments, but I like to keep that short. Like, what are we going to do to solve it? Because if it's already there, like, okay, let's move on. Or step ahead of it, right?
Yeah. And in any conversation, like if I'm going to point out a problem, then I would also like to propose a possible solution or two.
100%.
Otherwise, I don't like entering the conversation at all. I go,
Yeah.
if I can't even like offer something productive to it, then I really don't want to interject.
Right. What's the point of conversing over
I guarantee you there's at least 5 other people that can see the problem, but also can't think of a solution.
it? Right.
That's that whole I'm not helping.
Yeah. Oh.
But again, that's part of dealing with people, right? That's people in general. Now, how have you decided to run your salon when it comes to like, is it commission? Is it booth rent? Is it employee? Is it a mixture?
So it's commission, it's employees. We do have some employees that are hourly or commission, depending on what's greater.
Right.
So for Todd and I, just felt like really wanted to give the staff as much as I could, and I really wanted to mentor them in a way that I didn't feel I was. And I felt the only way that was possible was through employees and commission. I am a workhorse. I don't know how to not work. I don't know how to take time off. I'm like a bad example of that. And because I am, which is why I wanted to set the example for the staff, which would hopefully then reflect and change my path in my life, which is trying to, yes, you can work, but you also need to take a minute. And I've just never been good at that. So when we set up Hello, it was very important to be like, you will take some time off for this. You will take at least a week off a year. You will do these things because it's important to have a balance between what we do here and your life at home.
It's healthy.
It's healthy. Thank you. Yes. And we all need to be reminded how to be healthy in our life, like whatever that looks like. And so that's kind of what started that. And I also wanted I brought on an apprentice. So in education, like I really wanted to have that program, which we do. And I felt like that really benefited employees and in that way. And it really, I felt could give back in that setting.
This was something I've always encouraged any of the people that work at my shop is that I think I came up with this in like 2013, 2014, and it was, your health is more important than a haircut. And that can be applied to both barber, stylist, or customer. Going, look, you need to understand that ultimately the service we provide is not greater than anyone's health. Whether it's, working while you're sick or getting a haircut while you're sick, or, skipping a lunch or not taking a break. Like none of those things are okay. Like ultimately you need them.
Right.
And you don't realize how much you need them until the not taking them compounds to the point of, heaven forbid, a heart attack or a stroke in the shop
Yeah.
or salon, where I have friends who have done that, who have suffered that, who have thankfully survived that more than once. So, having so many friends that are, for men over the age of 50 is like either you're living or you're dying, who have gone through those things, like, it's part of the reason why I hang out with people that are at least, a generation older than me, is like, all right, I want to learn from your mistakes so that I don't make them.
Yes.
Oh, you have really high blood pressure and you don't take breaks? All right, well, I'm going to make sure neither of those things happen to me.
Right. Thank you for teaching me or
Yes.
showing me. Yeah.
So examples are the best way of learning. So
Totally agree.
that's something I've really tried to push on people here, because that wasn't the case in barber school. Like in barber school, and I imagine in hair school too, is like, if you get a chance, you could take a break. But
Right.
if there's a customer walking through that door, your lunch is over.
It's funny. So we use salon software, and with this whole pandemic and COVID, one of the things I put in, like, there's always been in there like a lunch or extra time, but I created this, I'll call it a button, but, and it just says clean and breathe. Like, take a 15, 20 minute, 30, whatever you need to clean up after yourself, but also to take a breath. And I think I created that for myself because I needed to be reminded, but it felt so refreshing to me. Like, it's not just that you need extra time to finish your client. It's not that you just need to eat. Sometimes it's that you need to take a breath. And now with these masks, like, step outside and take a breath. I'm saying it's okay. I need to do it. We all need to do it. And it just was kind of out of all of this. It's neat when some positive things have come out of it.
Well, part of being a leader, not just an owner or a manager, like being a leader is you need to lead by example. Because anything that you let fly, you're letting something 10 to 20% worse occur.
Yes. And it's hard because that's self-reflection too. Like, oh shit, I got to get it together here, because if I'm like, oh, you do it this way, but I'm going to do it this way. Like, that's part of being a parent. Like, my kids aren't learning by the way I tell them. It's my actions. It's the way I treat them. It's my habits. So that transfers into leading my team at the salon. Like, it's what you do. It's what people are seeing.
Well, I feel like thankfully over time, at least in my particular situation, I've been working with people long enough that they have thankfully, because of communication that we've worked on, started to understand a little bit of the bigger picture from behind the scenes, that we as owners actually do like far more than what we're doing behind the chair. And
Right.
that sometimes, despite the fact that they don't see us doing everything that they are supposed to be doing on a daily basis, that doesn't mean that we can't do that. It just means that, like, we have so many other things that we're
Right.
doing that, hey, sometimes I'm not going to be able to clean the combs at the end of the day. That's going to have to be one of you guys. Or, hey, I can't always drop off the laundry. Like, sometimes you guys going to have to do
Right.
that because I have these things that you
Right.
guys don't have to touch. Or
And
deal
you're
with.
lucky you don't have to,
Yes.
right? And so just appreciate that help. I totally get that.
But I feel like that's part of, like, maturing in the business relationship. Like,
Yes.
you're not going to, have somebody, spry straight out of hair school going, oh, I totally get it. Like, I'm not going to feel bad at all that you're not doing what I have to do. So having that understanding, that empathy, going, all right, you know what? You are where you are. I get it. I'm not going to take it personally.
Right. Yes. Like, I too was that age.
And remembering that is important.
Yeah.
But it is very nice when you find somebody that is both young and understanding.
It's a breath of fresh air. It is, for sure. Especially as
gives
an
you
owner,
hope.
you're right. Because they see you working so hard and they just want to help. Like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, I love that. Because I want to help all of you all the time, So thank you so much.
A little bit of reciprocation goes a long way.
A long way. It doesn't take much.
So now that we're in officially today, November, for listeners, this is pre-recorded. It's before Election Day.
Oh.
How's your year gone so far with all these interesting restrictions you didn't really plan on before you were going to be opening?
Yeah. Well, no one, I would say flat out, no one opens a business being able to run at half your capacity. Like, you didn't run your numbers on like, oh, well, if we only, like, let's play a fun game. If we could only be at half, what would we do? Like, that was never in our conversation.
Yeah, if you were a restaurant, you'd be screwed.
Right? So I have to say, I definitely, I will beat myself up from time to time because I always want to be ahead of where I'm at. And it's can be a good thing or a bad thing. But that's where Todd will kind of take me back down. Like we're doing amazing in the situation we've been given. We're doing it, and I do believe any business that can hang on through this pandemic is only going to flourish after. Would I like to be doing better? Yeah, like there's, and I guess better is like a relative term, but it would. We're doing great and we're open and it's wonderful, but there's definitely, like, I miss giving that coffee. Even the mask. I don't feel like I'm as one-to-one with my client. I miss even giving them a hug. Like, and it's just like they came into our new salon and I feel like we just like sit down, get your hair done. Because at that point we couldn't even blow dry. So like, I don't do hair like just to do hair. I do it for the conversation, the hanging out, the relationship. That's what feeds my soul. And then I love doing hair, of course. But I like that part has kind of been, sometimes I have I call them adult temper tantrums of like, this just isn't fun right now. Cause I just feel like I'm just doing hair. So I can't really hear through the mask. When I'm blow drying, I can't see their lips anymore. So I don't even know half the time what they're saying to me. But at the end of the day, like we're all taking a paycheck and we're still open and we're having fun. And I also feel that the team I have, we're in this really unique situation that we're going to remember this forever, and it's putting a special bond between us. So financially, we'll figure it out as we go. We'll reevaluate the end of the year. My accountant that Todd and I work with is already like, let's get through 2020 and let's reevaluate what your business plan is for 2021, because it might not change that much. And then we'll just make adjustments where we need to. And he's going to be really great at hands-on at helping us kind of what does that need to look like for there. And I trust that. I trust the process. And then Todd will remind me that we're doing good. And I need to hear that sometimes.
Now, you guys have been being creative with your consultations, right?
Yeah, with the
Tell me about
virtual.
that.
So much fun. And you don't have to wear a mask, so it's very cool. And it's a time saver. Like consultations of the past, people would come in and they might want their hair done that day, but you didn't have the time, so they have to leave and come back. So with the virtual, it's really cool because you get to see them. Sometimes even their parents come into it. If it's someone younger, you get to meet the parent. They get to see whose chair, like the person they're going to sit in, and you can talk through the pictures, all the stuff. And it's, first of all, been a game changer, but it's just like, I don't know, it's been so much fun for the staff too. I've loved seeing them getting done. So it's been very cool. And I feel like from the guest perspective, they come in and the level of anxiety is so much lower now because they know what their stylist looks like. They've talked to them already. There's a game plan there. And I feel like they can come in now and just have a guest experience and like relax as much as they can. So very cool.
So, do you find with doing the virtuals, is there like, I don't know, a 10% chance that like by the time they come and physically sit in your chair that they've like changed their mind a bit?
I think it's always possible, yes. But I think what the virtual has been helping us do is like add on that extra time, no in between. So they've got a good chunk of time. So if by chance there's generally enough time to do whatever it is that they want. And I think that's been talked about. Like, okay, I'm thinking this, but this was what I was thinking. So it's like, okay, we can kind of plan for both and figure it out so that so that the stylist doesn't feel rushed and the client can still get what they want.
Nice.
Yeah. It is really nice because I feel like prior you'd be like kind of at a guessing game. Like, I wonder what they want. And it's like, okay, we kind of have a clue. And the relationship's now been established. So that when they come in, they reconsult, of course. But that just feels a little bit nicer because you feel like you already know each other a little bit.
That's kind of like, I mean, offering the limited color services that I have right now. Usually, any of my customers, like I'm not getting a cold customer that's never been here before for that type of a service. Mm-hmm. It's always somebody who's in my chair, and we just, broach the conversation. And, we kind of talk about, oh, that sounds really cool. Like, oh, what do you think about this kind of a thing? So I guess it just organically happens that I have a pre-consultation with them.
Right.
And then, before they leave this appointment, we have their next one booked with that extra time for that service. So I could see how that would be pretty handy to do that, whether they've been there before or not.
Yes. And it's been very successful for on both sides, because the stylists don't feel as rushed. Like, well, I don't know, am I booking up too much time or this? It's been really nice for both.
That is one thing I'm still working on, is learning like how to book time.
Yeah. It is tough for sure. I still have days where that happens, and I have to get better at that too and constantly remind myself. Because again, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can make that happen. And I'm like, why did I do that? And I did it myself.
Well, and I feel like that's one of the reasons I'm constantly doing my hair. I mean, I just get bored easily as it is, but it's also like, all right, if, I'm trying to achieve a certain result, like, I know how quickly I can do it on my length hair,
Yes.
on my density hair to achieve this particular result, but that may not always translate to someone else's hair,
Right.
or that may not be the proper look for their skin tone or their face shape, that sort of a thing. But it's still like my little way because I don't work with mannequins.
Yeah. Well, and so at least then too, you could take whatever you've done on you and like, oh, okay, their hair's like this, so you could kind of predict where that will go.
Yeah, it's at least like a baseline, and then I can add variables as needed.
Love that.
All right, so tell me about Hello Hair Co.'s vision, because it is not like it, as it says on your merch, it's, beauty and barber. So how have you decided to kind of meld those two worlds into one?
So the look of the salon aesthetically, there's like a half wall that separates the barber area from the salon area. And I love that it's a half wall because it makes it so everybody can see each other and we all feel like we're one, even though there is different sides. Also the vibe. So on the barber side, we have we had an artist come in, a friend of ours, and paint on the wall, and it's on the back of the sweatshirt. A really just cool kind of has clippers on it and scissors and hair, and then we have a Baxter product on there, so it has more of a manly feel over there in that sense. We put square mirrors on the barber side, we have round mirrors on the styling, and then their stations are white and so are ours. So it has a nice blend, it flows really well. And we really call it a barber area, or that's where the barbers work. I don't call it a barber shop at all. The goal here is to really attract guys that like want to be treated well and like don't mind coming in, and they're going to be there for 45 minutes. We don't want you to run in and run out and chill and relax, and eventually when we can serve drinks again, like have a drink and like just kind of take it all in. And for the women to be like, oh, my husband needs to come here. Like he would love this, like an experience, and really feel like you can enjoy that. And then hopefully that brings back like face shaves. And I mean, I know some barbers do it, but I don't know if a lot do it. But that's something that both Allie and Todd love to do, and that kind of stuff. They've been doing facials in there, like offering these type of things just to show a different side of it. And, working with all different hair types. It's not just, I'm going to throw a lingo out there, but like high and tights all day long. And I think that's a thing, right? But they can work with all kinds of lengths of hair, all different types of hair, and kind of fun to see that happening.
Well, I feel like there's an understanding now with the market, and we'll go with the market as a whole or the market here in New Hampshire, that there is a call for being more inclusive, where, I mean, there's been serious delineation in the past where it's like, all right, guys can, avoid the salons for specific reasons, whether it's, smells or conversations being had that make them uncomfortable, or, little things that like they don't necessarily fully know or understand, but they're just like, it's not comfortable. But also the same thing with, women going to barbershops. Like, though, we've made a practice of making our shop specifically very approachable to everybody, there's that, age-old expectation that you go to a barber if you're a guy, you go to a salon if you're a girl. And that's not true anymore, because there's a generation of people who have been taught that hair has no sex. Guys wear it long, girls wear it short, and everything in between. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is the atmosphere that you offer them to make sure that they feel comfortable getting whatever service they're wanting to get. So I feel like people who are looking forward understand that it is in everyone's best interest to be able to offer as much as possible to whoever your client is in the most comfortable way for them.
Yes, I love how you just said that.
Like for us, and me specifically, in my room, I have my own private room. I have an aesthetic station where I do facial services, and I also offer hair color. So if you want gray coverage, you don't want anybody to know about it. Nobody has to know.
Awesome.
And, it's still a very classic barbershop atmosphere where I'm introducing services that are typically only offered in salons to people who will probably never go to a salon.
Right.
They
And
would not
so
seek
neat
them
you
out.
can do that.
But making them very approachable to people, going, look, you can practice self-care and
Yeah.
enjoy these luxurious options as long as somebody's willing to offer it to you in a way that is comfortable on your level.
Yes.
And it's great to be able to see a salon that also sees the profitability of that in the long run, going, it doesn't matter who's offering it as long as
Yeah.
it's comfortable.
Right. And I think that's where we really tried to make both sides as comfortable as possible. We did create a processing area for color that is secluded so that people, once they get their color on, if there's a bunch of men over here, they can go sit over here and you can have that exactly like you're saying, be very comfortable. But I think you even touched on it even more, is that like the way of the world was like you're a barbershop or you're a salon. I feel like that's going away. Like barbers, master barber, you can do all that stuff. People don't even realize you can do that stuff. And so it's so neat if you find the person that you want to do your hair, then they can do your hair. Cool. In at Hello, if let's say someone came in and they have a haircut that I can't do, I have so many resources around me now to help me, which is amazing. Maybe I do the color and maybe Todd finishes the haircut. Like that is so fun. And that to me is like when you can work together in that atmosphere, like that's where you really get creative and like things start to move.
Oh yeah, ultimate collaboration and education, like in your own house, is phenomenal.
Hands down, right? Like just the best.
And I feel like that's only achieved though when people are open-minded enough to allow it to happen.
Open-minded all the way. Because like also, so I had done a haircut, a client, I think I've cut his hair since he was 6 years old and now he's like 25. And I was finishing up and I had asked Allie, I'm like, can you come over and look at the back of this haircut? Like, what would you do differently? And she's like, well, I would. I'm like, can you like show me though? And his name was Brian. I'm like, Brian, do you mind if Allie helps me finish your haircut? Of course he doesn't care. Now he feels like a rock star because he just got me to do it, but also now someone else is doing it. Then I had her do a neck shave, which he'd never have. And he left and he was like, this was the coolest experience I've ever had. This is the coolest place. The place didn't even have to be cool, but we made him feel cool. And that, I was so happy. I'm like, I've known this kid since he was 6. And first of all, he just got an experience he's never had. And his haircut probably never looked any better. And we did that together. That was cool.
Well, and how special does somebody feel when, like, they're not just, like, one great professional stylist awesome.
Yeah.
They're 2 great professionals looking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's 2 people's jobs worth of work on his head that he gets to go and rock.
Yes. And they're having fun doing it. Yeah, just it's very cool. And bringing that barber side in, it makes the atmosphere just feel more fun. I don't know.
Well, and I feel like that's part of what we covered earlier. That's, just because it's, quote, competition when it comes to being in the same industry, it doesn't mean you can't work together.
Right.
Like, work towards the same goal and you'll be fine. Just, stay on track and don't worry about, like, petty little differences. And, like, one doesn't have to be better. It could just be different.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys see moving forward through the end of the year and into 2021? I know, financially and working with accountants to see how things are going to go is all very up in the air right now with
Yes.
people. But, like, what do you guys want to see happen?
So I think for us is we're going to bring on another stylist that we're able to work kind of with the chair situation and bring that on, which will be very fun coming out of school. So she'll enter into our education program, and that will be really fun there. Coming into next year is just really, we're kind of looking at, okay, this is all the stuff we can't do, but what can we do? And so like we can run fun promotions and fun contests. And if a lot of that's even through our social media and maybe not so hands-on in the salon, and get the guests engaged in that. Like that, we can still get in front of them. It's just going to look a little different. It might be with a mask on, so then we use our social media to get in front of them without one, and engage them in that way. For the first time in my whole career, we're working with different marketing companies. And I think at first was like, oh, do we have to do this? But it's really cool. It's kind of fun. Like, I feel like we're going to, get some mailings out into people's houses. Like, that's exciting. We're going to do some stuff with a commercial, but not like they put your logo on and then like they talk over it. I've never done anything like that. Like, that's really kind of neat, and it's pulling me in a different creative avenue that I've never been able to explore. And that's like actually where Todd's really great. So he's, takes that on, and I just get to kind of follow along and be a little included.
Well, it's a lot easier to get there because he's already
he already can do it.
You're like, cool, I'll just tag along.
Yes, I just want to learn and watch, and he's got that creative side, and it's just amazing. And then I think for us is to really focus on growing the staff, getting them busy, getting them feeling excited about it, and going from there. And if we can do that, even just with the current staff we have, fill in our gaps and have them having fun by the new people that come in, I'll feel very successful and very happy.
Awesome. Now, I do want to touch a little bit on like how you guys have been affected with everything going on in 2020. And I mean, I've talked with other people on different episodes that New Hampshire is largely untouched by a lot of the things that plague our country and our world right now, even with COVID, even with everything else. How's that been affecting you guys, whether it's on a personal or professional level, like when it comes to, relief and how New Hampshire's been doing, how you think government leadership's been doing, whatever you're comfortable discussing. This isn't a place for, negativity or like discourse. Like we're not like, I don't subscribe to any ideology when it comes to government. So I'm the easiest person to talk to about it. But, where have you guys been coming from on a productive level with that?
So I think in the beginning it was tricky because things were changing so fast. So here's the rules for this week, but then now the rules have changed for next week.
3 weeks later, the logic goes out the window.
And some of the stuff that they'd be asking you to do, you couldn't even get your hands on it. Luckily, like overnight, I think we had to wear aprons. Thank goodness. Somebody a couple weeks prior had said, I think they're going to make us wear aprons. Now, did I have some on hand? Yes, but not to wash after every single guest. So luckily through that, I just found like on Amazon a bunch, and I'm like, I'm just going to order these, and I guess I'm sitting on them or not. So when the apron thing came out, thank goodness we had a ton of aprons. But I know a lot of salons that didn't have that, and that stinks for them, And I don't know what they ended up doing, but if the state came in, you're going to get fined on something that you couldn't even get your hands on, and you didn't have enough time to get that stuff. Same thing with the sanitizing. Luckily, when we closed the gym, Todd had a ton of sanitizing stuff. So even though you couldn't get it, we had it all. And then luckily he's smart and could make our own hand sanitizer. So even though we couldn't get it, he could make what we needed. And actually Mrs. C helped us get certain atomizers to make it. So again, we're at that standard. But we're lucky. We have the resources, and we had the people that wanted to help us. And I feel we have the ability to pivot, and maybe I have an adult temper tantrum and then get over it and like, okay, how are we making this work? So some of that was tough. And I think even now some of it's tough. Like my kids are in school, and in school desks can be 3 to 6 feet apart, but in the salon I have to be 6 feet apart. Okay, that doesn't even make sense to me because COVID doesn't know you're in a school or a salon. There's a local coffee shop that's running this mimosas and makeup night. I'm a salon. I can't serve a mimosa, and like, I don't understand. So it's tricky. I think there's just a lot of different guidelines for a lot of different places. And I guess I've kind of taken the perspective moving forward is here's the rules that I'm given, and I'm just going to work within them and try to have as much fun as I can with them. And like I said, I have my little temper tantrums and I get over it. I feel for the businesses that maybe didn't have those resources and that really put them in a situation where also they couldn't then present their business in a safe way. And maybe some didn't care, I don't know. But for Todd and I, we needed it to be, this is the new standard and we're not going below it. And then we just sanitize hands when they come in, ask our questions, wear our masks. And so I guess I've just kind of learned to roll with it. And by nature, I try to be a positive person. So I don't believe, obviously there's not like unicorns in the air, but some days I want to believe there is. So like I said, I guess just have accepted it, and I can't change it. So I'm going to move on and just educate our staff, and we're just going to make it as easy for them to follow whatever rules that are put out.
That is one of the things that I've had to struggle with because I am a huge proponent of consistency. I have a very difficult time swallowing situations where standards are not applied equally across the board.
And in this case, that's really tough.
So what I have always tried to do, and that I've encouraged others, is to apply logic, which obviously we know is in short supply for some. Similar to common sense. And with the apron thing, because it came out 3 weeks after we were allowed to open, I had a problem, and I had to discuss it with my fellow barbers and go, look, here's the thing. This is something, and seeing the background of why that secondary thing came out, because I saw the discussions on the message boards and on social media, because initially came out with these things, and we were like one of the first professions to be allowed to reopen.
Yeah.
That should say something about like not only how necessary we are for people's mental health, but also because I mean, literally, you can live without a haircut. Like
For sure.
No
one's
humans have
dying
done it
without a
for
haircut.
centuries.
Yeah.
But mentally, it is like huge in our society to be able to feel normal.
100%.
And that is very, very important. So I'm happy that our government in New Hampshire recognized that.
Yes.
And then at the same time, we're also the last profession to be required to still have appointments. So I have a hard time reconciling those two things in my brain. Because like, literally, you can walk into any establishment
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
with no warning and do anything else except for a haircut or hair service. And I go, that doesn't make any sense.
I had one day a lady, she was at my front door, it's a glass door, talking on the phone, and I was about an appointment, whatever, and I'm like, wait, you're here? And so now we're talking on phones through a glass door. I'm like, this is insane right now. I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, and I had to laugh. Because what else am I going to do?
These are the hoops that we have to jump through in order to be, quote, legal.
Yep. Like, hey.
But definitely with the apron thing, I go, so there were 3 weeks of which we didn't have to do this. If this were the one thing separating us from getting COVID versus not getting COVID, we've had 3 weeks to get it. And I guarantee you, wearing an apron ain't going to prevent anybody else from getting it either. No. So, yeah, I had to have a discussion with my fellow barbers and go, do you guys see what I see? Am I crazy? Am I being ridiculous? And depending on your answers to that will depend on how we're going to proceed.
I do, like, and that's, I think, and I've seen it on different social media platforms, I think a lot of, if you're not a forward thinker, you're having a really hard time with what's been given to you because most things are suggested. So in our salon, if it says it's a must, it's a must. And if it's recommended or suggested, Todd and I have a conversation on how we feel about it. And then as a collective team, we discuss it. And that's how we've approached any of that. So musts are done, boom, and then where do we stand on here? And that's how we move forward. Now you look on a lot of social media platforms and like, just tell us what to do. I actually don't want to be told what to do.
Right?
I want all recommendations. So no, do not tell me what to do because now I have to do it. I'm a rule follower like that. So is Todd. So I love when most things are recommended and then Todd and I can decide what we feel is most comfortable for Hello and what do we want to do moving forward. That works for me. So
Yes.
Everyone who wants to be told what to do, I'm never going to be on board with that.
Well, because everything is a choice for people. Like,
Yes.
everything is a choice. Like, I don't care how many musts you put in front of it. Like, literally everything in life is a choice.
100%.
Now, the choices may not be very nice choices. The consequences of those choices may not be fantastic.
Right. But if you lay that out and you at least know what you're doing with that, that's a choice you made, right?
Well, and then you also have the fact that service, as I have learned, true service cannot take place unless both parties are actively engaged. You cannot force service upon anybody. You can't, because then that's not service.
Right.
That's assault.
It's not a service industry.
So that being said, there are at least 2 people
involved, making a choice on both sides. But unfortunately, there's only one side of that that has a consequence that is being fabricated by the entity causing it to be a must. So that's where I ultimately have a problem is going, we'll go with the extreme example of the barber in Michigan. While during lockdown, he did not shut down. He continued to take customers. All right. He was busy. He was really busy because, nobody else is doing it, right? But he did not put a gun to anybody's head and go, I am giving you a haircut, whether you like it or not. Those people chose, despite the lockdown measures, to go get haircuts. But there is no consequence for the people who decide to go get that service.
Correct.
Only for the guy who's offering it.
Yeah.
And that just blows my
Yes.
mind going, what about the people who are, like, that's their choice. They could choose
Right.
to stay home. And then he would be open, but nobody in his chair.
Right.
And then no harm, no foul.
Correct. That's crazy.
And this is where my logic is like, it doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
It's stupid. So I am very much in favor, and one of the reasons I love living in New Hampshire is that we are very live free or die. So it's very, we don't make anybody do anything. Like, pretty much. We're like, you want to live your life? Go for it.
Yeah.
Don't make me live it for you. Don't make me live it with you. You do you, I do me.
I say that all the time. You do you. I'm over here, and if everyone just lived like that, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
And then if we happen to cross paths and have a problem, we can work it out amongst ourselves.
we can communicate.
We can compromise. That's kind of like what you need to do to
Imagine
coexist.
that.
What is this compromise word? What is that?
That's a new one.
Do Americans
Look it
do
up.
that anymore? Only in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And this is just that's as far as I've allowed my frustration to go this year. Because outside of that, I got nothing.
Agreed.
I can only deal with what I can control, and other than that, I can just ride the wave of what I'm given.
For sure.
And I'm super glad to see that the wave that you've been given, you guys are rocking it.
Thanks. I think so too.
I love watching your guys' social media posts.
Thanks.
You inspire me, and I go, man, why can't mine look that good?
You can talk to Todd. He can probably help you out on that. He's really amazing with that, and I take from his lead. And you just made my whole life by saying we even inspire you, because I feel like to inspire others is truly like what we're here to do. So that's really, thank you.
Well, and part of it, you know what? Social media is only what you want people to see.
Yeah.
But I love that you were willing to come in and talk with me, despite the fact that we've never met before.
True. I was honored to be asked, so thank you.
Well, and really getting a chance to talk about, what's behind the scenes, like how you ended up getting to where you
Yeah.
are. Despite the fact that it's only been a short time for Hello, it comes from a very firm foundation of 22 years of experience
Yeah.
that you've had, and, welcoming your husband into that crazy life.
I know, and it's been fun working together, which is really cool.
Well, and I'll check in a couple of years to see if that's still the case.
Please do. Please do. I hope I can be as excited as I am. I believe we will. But yeah, but with that you have, it'll be ups and downs, right? That's where it's at.
It's growth. That's how
for
it works.
sure.
But I always find it really, really important that we kind of bring to light how these things happen, because, we always just see the success and it's like, oh, that's amazing. Oh, how the heck am I ever going to
Right.
get that good,
Yeah.
that far? But being able to talk about the struggles and the ingredients to that,
I think it's very important.
super. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on and share with
Thanks.
us.
Thanks for letting me.
Thanks for coming in. All right. I'll keep an eye on you guys, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have for 2021.
Cool. I look forward to it also. Okay.